Hello, in this video we're going to discuss number variable specific properties. As you can see, I already have my template open. If you haven't already, go ahead and open HotDocs, open your library, edit your separation agreement template, and open your component manager. For the purposes of our demonstration, I'm going to work with the debit amount number variable, so I'll double click and open it up. And we're going to concentrate on the 4 fields at the bottom of our variable editor. I'll start with minimum and maximum, and I'm going to just change everything initially so it looks as if it would when you create a brand new number variable. When you work with a number variable to begin with, you can enter as many characters as you want as whatever the user is typing in. You may not want to have this happen. Perhaps the debt amount should never be below $1,000. Maybe the debt amount should never be above $4 million. That's where minimum and maximum are going to come into play. I'm going to go ahead and use those numbers here. I'll type in 1,000. I'll say that the user shouldn't really be able to enter a number below 1,000. They shouldn't be able to enter a number greater than 4 million. Now, once I do that, HotDocs is going to be restrictive with my user. If they try to come in here and type in 50, maybe they don't mean to do that, they're just not paying attention when they're typing. HotDocs is going to say, hey, you need to stop and pay attention to what you're doing. Some users will see this as an error and they may report it to you as a developer, but this is really what we call in our program a warning. So it's a default warning. You cannot edit what the screen says, by the way. The only thing that is altered is the numbers that you enter. So it just tells the user what they need to do. They really can't change anything here. I can try to click X to close, but even if I try to do that, it keeps coming back to say you need to change this answer before you can get out of here. And so I'm just going to click OK, make this 1,000 so I can close this answer set. Now, these may not be things that you can use with every number variable that you're working with, but know that they're here. I'm going to take these back out. Something else that might be useful is decimal places. You might not want to enter whole numbers all the time, so I'm going to kind of show you what happens when you're working without decimal places first. I'll type in 100 and I'll show the result being what prints in the document as your answer, and we can see 100, no big deal. Now if I type in 115, you'll see it change right away here. It rounds it up and puts in 101. Even if I try to type in 100.99, HotDocs rounds it up. If I try to type in 130, HotDocs keeps it at 100, so rounds on the 5. Now, if there is a situation when you're working with a number like decimals, and sometimes with actual currency that you're working with, you do want to have decimal places after the number and have HotDocs retain those decimal places. You should indicate to the program that it needs to do that by entering the number of decimal places it needs to work with. When you're working with decimal places, you have to be careful with whether HotDocs retains zeros on the end of your decimal place or not. And I'll show you that, and you're going to use something called a default format for that. While we talk about default formats in another video in more detail, I'll actually apply one here so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'll use 100 again, and I'll put 99 on. You can see I can enter it. I could enter it before, it just didn't retain the information the way I needed it to. So I enter it, I tab, I can see it's holding that 99 and it's printing that 99. I'll go ahead and say 01. Again, 9 was the ending number last time, 1 is the ending number this time, and it holds that number. Now look what happens when 0 is the ending or trailing number. HotDocs just, we see it here, it truncates it off in the answer. So that's something to understand about HotDocs, is when the 0 is the ending number, it's going to cut that off in your answer or truncate it off. If you want it to hold that, and you want a consistent look and feel. So think of it more than just that 0 gets cut off. Think about when you're working with decimal places, if you have a balance sheet or they're all lining up against the right-hand side, you want to have them all line up on that right edge nice and neat with your 2 digits and then your decimal and then the rest of your numbers. So it's all about consistency when we're working with our finished product. That's when you're going to apply a format that has the same number of decimal places as what you've applied here. And I'll just apply this here. And you can see that I have a consistent number of decimal places. The interesting thing is now when I have .00, where before if I type in .00, because there's 2 zeros, it would have just placed 100 in my result. Now it keeps those 2 zeros. Again, it's all about that consistency in my answer. All right, let's talk about currency symbol. As you would have seen previously when we were doing our testing, there was no way of indicating that this, and I'll come here so you can see this again, there's no way of indicating that this is a currency. It's the debt amount. Yeah, we might be able to make that mental leap as a user, but what the user might try to do is they might try to type a $sign in the field. HotDocs doesn't like that. It says, yeah, no, this is a number. I don't want you to type any special characters in here. You can type in numbers, a dash for negatives, comma. I'll let you get away with that, but nothing else. So to help your user out, you may want to indicate the currency with the currency symbol here. This will display in the screen. It does not print. So it's strictly for the user and what they're seeing while they're entering their answer. You can see it's not printing. And I took my decimal places, my format off, so that's why you're not seeing the .00 being retained here. If you don't see your currency symbol listed here that you want to work with, you can type it in. You can go copy it and type it in, or if you know the 4-digit characters for it, the ASCII characters, you can type it in. Another thing you might do is you might say, well, I'm working with an international piece of software here when you're creating your HotDocs program. It's not always one currency. In that case, instead of signifying the currency here, create a multiple choice variable that has your currency and the user can select what currency it is. And then you can do your calculations, whatever you need to do. I hope this was useful for you. Thank you for watching.